Okay. Um, All right. Thank you all. I think we can start now. First of all, a little bit of introductions, right? To start with, I can I can start with our most senior colleague here, which is Chugo. Chugo is a Microsoft verified professional, right? Microsoft valuable professional, MVP. So I like to say this is that the highest tag you can get at Microsoft is a friend I've had the value of knowing him for years now. So he's very, very, very good, very, very experienced. He's based in Amsterdam. Works, like I say, it calls up for different companies, right? He's a cloud architect, he's an MVP. I have the privilege of working together with him on several projects, which is very good. He is very, very good and very, very experienced. Then 1 second, please. Then the next person is Dominic. Dominic is a friend. I like to call Dominic a friend and a colleague. We connected back then in Tech Experts, Nigeria. I was an SME. SME is basically a subject matter expert in Azure. He was also an SME. So we connected back then. From time to time, we'll be saying that we are going to do this, right? We're going to do this. We're going to give back to people. We're going to train people because we've been doing this for years. I like to say I've been in Azure since early 2015. I've been in Azure before the Azure for anything. So it's kind of good, right? It's kind of good. It's good to give back. We were saying we've been doing this, but time a chance, right? But I'm glad we are all able to do it now. Then I don't want because of the time we've wasted, I don't want to go around the room for introduction, but I'll hand over to CJ to kind of explain what this training is going to be, how the format you're going to follow, and then we can kickstart because we've already wasted 32 minutes waiting for people to join. So yeah, CJ, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Nonso. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for guys for joining wherever you are. So the first model we'll be looking at cloud computing. So what is Azure cloud computing? Bear in mind there's no previous knowledge on Azure, and that will be handled by Dominic Iortyer. He's a cloud expert as well as a Microsoft certified trainer. Then the next model. So after the first module, immediately after the first module, there'll be like a 20 minutes for Q&A. If you have any question, you can ask. Then after that module, the next module will be done by Nonso Udechukwu, a Microsoft certified trainer as well, and a Microsoft architect. And that will be Azure as well as Azure services. And it will go maximum 40 minutes with a provision of 20 minutes or 10 minutes question and answer section. And then the last section will be on cloud management and governance. And that will be done by Dominic Iortyer. Yeah, so that's the procedure. If you have any questions in the meantime, and just shoot it on the chat, and I'll give the answer to the question. So without further ado, I will give the floor to Dominic.
Dominic, go ahead, fire down. Dominic, are you with us? It seems he's on hold.
It's on hold, so just wait a bit.
Oh, okay. I say give him a few more minutes because I really don't want to delay more people. Maybe we can start. Dominic, are you there?
I think let's wait a bit of 5 minutes. If he couldn't make it, then I would proceed with the second model with Nonso on Azure architecture and Azure services.
Okay.
So where are you guys joining from? Okay, Dominic is here. Yeah. So
Okay. All right, Dominic, go ahead. We're actually waiting for you to kickstart now.
Okay. Yes. I have to share my screen. Please, some minutes. Let me know when you can see my screen.
Yes, we can see your screen now.
Okay, thank you so much for joining. So first of all, before I start meetings like this or training like this, I like to first of all do a bit of introduction. I know the timing that we're giving out from this training, it's kind of like an impromptu to some people, and people are joining from different locations, basically. So first and foremost, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Dominic Iortyer. I'm a cloud infrastructure engineer and also a Microsoft Certified Trainer. And here with me, I have two other of my guys here. Nonso, I think they will have to introduce themselves.
We
hi,
already
Nonso.
did, but you didn't join us. we already did. So you are 5 minutes late. So we already did introductions. I think you can kickstart. So I know guys are hoping to start the learning process. So you can kickstart. Let's see how far we can go today.
Okay. So yeah, today we are going to discuss about the Azure fundamentals. Azure fundamentals basically talks about the introduction to Microsoft Azure in the cloud. And here is the learning part we're going to discuss basically. And we're going to talk about cloud computing, what is cloud computing. We're going to talk about shared responsibility, how shared responsibility works with Azure. We're going to talk about cloud models, and we're going to talk about capital and operational cost. I mean, these are key parts that you need to understand while diving into cloud. And also, we are going to talk about the benefits of cloud, why cloud engineering or cloud technology is important to everybody and to every organization at large. We're also going to talk about different cloud types. As we all know, you can see from the screen here, it talks about IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS solutions. We're going to discuss and drill down on that on this session. Going to my next slide here, we are going to talk. These are the in cloud computing. We are going to define what cloud computing is. We are going to talk about the models as discussed, what the different cloud models, public cloud, private cloud, and then hybrid cloud. We're also going to discuss about the consumption-based model, what you consume, what you use using the pay-as-you-go techniques in cloud. We are going to talk about cloud pricing models and do a bit of comparison. And that is that. So on this note here, first and foremost, I'd like to talk about what is cloud computing. People say sometimes to a layman or to a different person, when you talk about cloud computing, people tend to think that the cloud computing is physically situated in the cloud. I think to some people who does not have experience or to a novice entirely, I'll say to that note, it's wrong. Cloud computing is more or less like a delivery of services over the internet, enabling faster innovation and then flexible resources and the economics of scale. So basically, they are key. What you need to understand is it's a data center situated in a region, and then it's being hosted where people can access it from different sides of the world over the internet. That's that. One key point I would like to talk over my next slide here is we are going to talk about the compute, networking, and storage on this note here. So now let's talk about private cloud. What is private cloud? Sometimes people tend to understand what private cloud is. Private cloud is like having your own personal version of cloud instead of sharing it with everyone. It's like having your own data center, building the switches, routers, everything that you need to understand in the cloud. So the key point about for a novice or for someone who doesn't understand what private cloud is having your own data center. Imagine a public cloud like Azure, AWS, and GCP is like a big apartment in a building where many people rent spaces to get your own units of the building. So on the private cloud, the key things you need to understand is you have your own servers, you have your own storage, you have your own network, all are dedicated to your own company, and it is not shared with any other person. It is your private infrastructure, your private data center where you have all of these servers, storage, and networking. You'll be the one bearing the cost of electricity and the likes. You have more control. When you talk about private cloud, you have more control to you decide how it is being set up, who can access it, and how it is, and then how it is secured. It all depends on you when you build your own private cloud. So one good thing about private cloud is it has better security. Since it's private, it's often used by banks and government or companies with sensitive data. So companies like, I'll use the government to be precise, because the government officials or the government entity, when they like to create their own private cloud, which means they have their own data center, have their own storage, their servers, their own network. They don't want any other person to have access to their information. So they have a better security on how to manage it. So one good thing about one benefit or key point about private cloud here is it has flexible deployment, which means you can host in your own data center. That is your own on-premise resources. Infrastructure, and it is being managed by a vendor exclusively for you. So that's what private cloud is all about. Then going to my next slide here, I'll talk about public cloud. Sometimes the public cloud, as you all know, like I discussed previously, is the public cloud talks about your Azure. Microsoft Azure is a public cloud. AWS is also a public cloud. GCP is also a public cloud. We also have other cloud like IBM cloud. We have Oracle cloud. We have Cisco cloud. We have so many cloud, right? So it's like you having your own. It's like you renting a shared apartment where people you have different tenants in that shared apartment. That's what public cloud is. It's like having your own building, and then people will rent different spaces to use that building for their own purpose or whatever purpose they like to use. That's what the public cloud is all about. As you all know, the next in line here is the private cloud is a cloud service for hosting providers, any different provider. So provide resources and then services to multiple organizations and users. You can access via a secure network connection over the internet. What are the things? Key benefit of the public cloud is you don't pay for some of you don't spend money on basic things like physical things. All you need to do is imagine you building a house. It takes months. You have to build the foundation. You have to before building a house, you have to like draw how you want the house to look like. You have to also build, get foundation. You have to bring in laborers. You have to pay all of those things. It takes months to build a house. But in a public cloud situation here, if you want to build a house, it can take minutes. You can set up a whole infrastructure in a couple of minutes. That's the benefit about public cloud here. So it is that simple to understand what public cloud entails all about. So going to my next slide here, I'll also talk about what they call hybrid cloud. Now, people tend to understand what is hybrid cloud, why is hybrid cloud being used by so many organizations. Hybrid cloud, as we all know, is like a mix of these two words, adding the public cloud like Azure, AWS, and Google Cloud, which is GCP, and then having your own private cloud, which means you can have your own data center privately managed by you, and then you can also have your subscribe to a public cloud, which means you can have your own building and also rent another building. You have to connect a bridge from your building to the rented building together to be able to have people who live from the rented building to your own private building. They can connect together and work together as one. So that's the essence of hybrid cloud. So, and again, the key point you need to notice about hybrid cloud here is it's a combination of part of your application data. They run in public cloud and also stay in your private cloud. And one good thing about it is flexibility. You can choose where to put different workloads. That is different infrastructure, different servers or virtual machines, name it. And cost saving. Another key point I'll talk about here is cost saving. Cost saving, which means the use of public cloud for less sensitive stuff like private cloud for critical or confidential things. And one good thing is scalability. If your private cloud runs out of space, you can burst extra workload into the public cloud and use these services. So, for example, in real life, you can combine both so that they can be best for security and flexibility, and then for cost. In short, hybrid cloud is using both public and private cloud together, so you can get benefit for both worlds. I think that's that.
Dominic, just before you move forward, please. Can I explain it a bit? Okay, so I'll start with the example, right? The example I will say, for example, in terms of private, public. So I'll give you an example of how my career, for example, now. Started my career far back, right? But in a time in my career, I worked with a bank called United Bank for Africa. We all know UBA. UBA have what we call a private cloud. Why do they have a private cloud? Because the Nigerian government does not allow people to put their information, your banking information, to be residing on the public cloud. So there is what we call Nigerian data protection. So the whole banking information, your PIN, your ATM, your everything is basically stored in the private cloud. That cloud, UBA manages it. What makes it complex? That means UBA worries about, hey, do they need to buy a new server? Do they need to run cables? Do they need to run a network? Is this server out of date? All those things, they're all managed by UBA. UBA have staff that were managing it. Then in the UBA, I was working in data center team. And we have like I think we had around 40 people working on that. We run 247 shifts. We do everything. We are the ones in charge of that cloud. So, for example, your ATMs, all those things, they are all working on you or they're all running on those servers. So all the ATM in Nigeria connect to that server in head office. They all run cable, so you be worried about all those connections. They worry about, okay, did fiber one caught? Did anything caught? With this server, do they need to update? All those things is private cloud. UBA manages all of that. It's actually UBA problem, right? That's completely private, right? The public one is when UBA decides, okay, come 2015, UBA now decides, okay, some of our services, we want to extend it to the cloud, right? We want to try this public one. When it comes to public one, it means that anybody, you, me, anybody can actually literally say, okay, hey, I want a server. What do I need to do? I just bring out my ATM card. I wave my ATM card. I go to a URL, whether Azure cloud, whether GCP cloud, and rent a service. So you are renting a service. For some of us, for some people that use iPhone, it's like the way you buy cloud space. You buy storage in iPhone, right? You basically, as Apple is basically saying, okay, every month we are giving you 100 gig, but you don't own that 100 gig. You are just renting it for that period. So the month you say, I don't get money, no 100 gig for you, right? That's what private cloud, public cloud is all about. In that case, all you need to do is just basically a card, a URL, you go and rent that cloud service. So whether you are renting a compute, like a server, or you are renting a network now, or you are renting a storage space. You want 1 terabyte, you want 2 gigabytes, you want 100 GB of storage, up to you. That's public. Hybrid is a combination of the two. That's when companies say, Because of Nigerian data issues, right? Data integrity issues. So some of our services cannot be kept in the cloud, whereas they cannot be kept in public cloud. But some have to be private. And some of your services, the cloud does not have those services at the moment, right? Now they have it, but then they didn't have it. So what do? I want to have a bit of A and a bit of B, a bit of private and a bit of public. Once I bend those two together, when I bend those together, that's when that's when I becomes a hybrid. So hybrid is basically a combination of both private and public. Okay. Sorry, over to you, Dominic. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for that. Thank you for that add up to the explanation we have here. So we're going to talk about the cloud model comparison here, as my colleague here has also explained what it is to you. You all know what the private cloud is, the public cloud, and also the hybrid cloud. You can see the comparison here. So on the public cloud, you don't have to spend capital expenditure, like you don't have to scale up, you don't have to build physical services or devices like routers and the likes. Unlike private cloud, you have to buy the building, set up, go to the market, buy servers, buy network cable. You have to buy all of those physical things and then set it, and then you have to bring an engineer that will have to network engineer to configure all of that. I mean, bit by bit, it takes time to build a private cloud. But one good thing about the private cloud is it will give you its benefit is you have your own security. People cannot just go into that services or your infrastructure to hack into it if they don't know about it. So it's better like that. Like he mentioned, the private cloud, like banks, they do use most of their have their own data center. If you go to Awolo here in Ikoyi here, I think there's a data center for GT Bank. They have their own data center. That means they have their own private cloud where they host all their infrastructures. And I'm not saying they don't use public cloud, but they have like a hybrid where they can also optimize or scale up different resources. And like we all know, the hybrid is a mix of both public and private, as you all know. So going to my next slide here, we are going to talk more about what we are going to do, like a comparison between CapEx and OpEx. So it is very vital to understand this concept in cloud, because when you're going to your cloud journey, you need to understand all of this. It's a simple term. When companies move to the cloud, like Azure, for example, they have to decide how they spend their money, that's where the CapEx and OpEx comes in. So I will explain to you what CapEx is. The CapEx is it's called capital expenditure. So you buy something big upfront, like servers, data center, and hardware. It's expensive to manage. The CapEx is trying to tell you to have a better understanding about private cloud. So it's expensive to manage. It's like buying a house, for example. It's expensive at the start, but then it is yours. Nobody can have access to it. Everything belongs to you. You also have to pay for maintenance, like electricity bill, cooling, because when you have a data center, you have to have different devices that would help you cool those heavy-duty machines on server base. So you have to employ staff who will be monitoring those machines. What if they get burnt, and so on and so forth. So example, a company buys a server and then builds its own data center. That's what CapEx explain all about. And the OpEx that we're talking about is called the operational expenditure. It's like renting an apartment. It's like going to the public cloud, like Azure, where you use what you pay for what you use. It's like when you rent a house, you want cold water, you have your water already. There's a fridge already available for you to just put your water in the fridge and use. So it's like a pay-as-you-go service. It is much cheaper, and in terms of OpEx, it's cheaper to start. It's flexible, and you can scale up or scale down. When you talk about scaling up is like, for example, you have like a virtual machine. You build a virtual machine with 500 gigabyte of space, and then you keep putting files in between those that virtual machine. All of a sudden, you exhaust that 500 gigabytes. If you want to scale up, means you want to add up more space, you can just go to the public cloud. you can just go to the Azure portal, and then you can add up extra space. But unlike which is why the OpEx is very good, unlike the CapEx, when you have a virtual machine and then you exhaust that, you can go to the market and buy a physical hard drive, physical drive, and then add it to be able to use. I mean, it's very expensive to also to operate the capital expenditure, which is the private cloud. So the one benefit of using the OpEx, which is the operational expenditure, is no need to worry about maintenance, no need to worry about the cooling, no need to worry about electricity bill for so many service. You can just have a small what do you call inverter to run your business, and it will run smoothly. No need to do all of those things. So the public space will take care of that for you, like public cloud, like Azure, will take care of it for you. An example of is like a company pays Azure monthly subscription for a virtual machine, database, and storage. So one key comparison you need to understand about the CapEx and CapEx is the CapEx is expensive to manage, and it's time consuming. You have to pay a lot of staff to ensure that they secure all those servers. But I mean, having a virtual servers in the cloud, which is the public space, which is the OpEx, which is your operational expenditure, it is very simple. It is very easy to manage. You pay for what you use. What you don't use, you don't pay for it. It's very cheaper to operate. I think that's the difference between the capital expenditure and the operational expenditure. So the capital expenditure is talking more about the private cloud, and the operational expenditure is talking about benefit of the public cloud. So I know sometimes when you talk about hybrid, some companies run both CapEx and OpEx within their infrastructure, which means it's good. They can also scale up or scale down within any of the services. So that's that about the comparison about CapEx and OpEx. So
Okay.
over to yes, please go on.
I want to give more examples so that people will understand more. Okay, so CapEx and OpEx, very, very beautiful, very simple thing. So let me give you all of us wants to be businessmen, right? We all want to own our own company. Some people, that means all of us, some want to own our own company. So if I come now in the area or in the world of startups, right? I always say that cloud is what makes startup a big thing now. Because without cloud, imagine you want to start a company. We all hear of AI, people are starting multi-million-dollar company. Imagine before, if you want to start a company, what the first thing you do, you go for, okay, let's say you want to start a company. I and Dominic want to start a company, or I and Dominic want to start a company, or our name of a company will be called let me say Nonso International. Igbo man, I'll use Nonso International, right? Nonso would like international. So to do that, first of all, I will need email, right? I will need email. I will need servers. So imagine I managed to save, let me use 2 million naira. I don't know whether my business will go. I don't know whether the company will survive in the next 2 months or next 6 months. But because I need email, I need servers. What am I going to do? I have to go and to buy a server now. Let me use old price. Let me use to buy a server now. Instead of them maybe 500,000 naira. That means I have to spend 500,000 naira, maybe buy one single server. And now I need to go and employ a sysadmin that will be handling my email, managing the email, managing the servers. So that means I'll add the person's salary on top of my business also. This is on top of my 2 million. No, that is capex. So for private servers, you have to have the money upfront. And even in 3 years, that server and my business is growing, that server is getting old, I have to go and buy another server. I don't even know whether will scale. I don't know whether people can still remember in the olden days when you want to check your WAEC result. So if you want to check your WAEC and JAMB result, then you have to go very early in the morning, because if result comes out and if you go in the afternoon, it will be so slow. What is happening? WAEC it's slow because they don't have enough servers, enough people are coming, enough traffic. So imagine if WAEC wants it to be fast, what do? They need to buy more servers and add. They need to buy more servers and add and anticipate. And even at that, they cannot anticipate how big it will go. That's capex. OpEx is saying, okay, inshallah, I don't know whether God will carry this company will go reach 1 million users, 1 billion users. But for now, let me start with my 2 million. I can subscribe for 100 terabytes. I can subscribe for one server. As my business is going, as more people are coming, maybe in the night, more people are accessing my services. OpEx, it can increase. So I don't even have to hire an engineer. I don't have to hire this. When Dominic goes into IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS, you see the different cloud models that actually helps you to do things around choosing a cheaper option, choosing things that are choosing the option that fits your business the more. So the CapEx and OpEx is all about, okay, how much do I want to commit now? Do I want to commit small? As my business grows, I will grow with the business, which is OpEx, or do I want to commit a huge amount of money upfront, right? That by buying the servers, by maintaining things. So it's a dicey rule about control, right? Do you want to have control, or do you want to have 100% control, 100% management, or do you want to lease some of them and move step by step? That's it. Dominic, sorry for closing in again. Please go ahead.
No worries at all. Okay. Thank you for that add-up explanation about CapEx and OpEx. I mean, if you have this basic understanding, it will help you drill down to how to use resources in the cloud, be it private or public cloud, or hybrid thereabouts. So going to my next slide there, we are going to talk about the consumption-based model. The consumption-based model talks about what you consume, what you use, things like cloud service provider operate on the consumption-based model, which means that at the end of at the end, users only pay for the resources that they use. It has better cost prediction. The prices for individual resources and services are provided already. Billing is based on actual usage. Imagine, for example, you have, he just gave a very good explanation about what's CapEx and OpEx. It's talked basically about the consumption-based model. For example, you have a website, people go into that website in the morning, you have too many people who log into the website, and at night, you have lesser people that log into that website because people are sleeping at that point in time, which means in the morning, the prices you pay in the morning will be higher because people go into that website for a longer period of time. And at night, people had equally sleeping and would not have access to go to be able to go to that website. So it's just a basic understanding about how the consumption-based model is. So a good thing about the consumption-based model is no upfront costs. You no need to purchase and manage costly infrastructure that may or may not be used to its full extent, which means sometimes you just buy too many servers in your private cloud, and you might end up using just one small portion, and those other servers are running on power. It's costing you money because the more the appliances, the more money you pay for power and all of that. So the ability, one good thing again is the ability to stop paying for resources that you no longer need. It's one good thing about the consumption model. So going to my next slide here, we're going to talk about cloud benefit, why it is important to use the cloud. What are the reasons to use cloud? We're going to describe the benefits of high availability and scalability in cloud. We are going to also describe the benefits of reliability and predictability in cloud. We are also going to talk about the benefit of security and governance in cloud, why it is essential to have your own security. If you have a country, you have a government in place. And after having a government, you also have what they call security. So there's no way you can have a government who manages every affairs of that country, and also you also have a security that also ensure that people are safe and sound in a country. So I'm just giving a simple analogy about cloud. Also, we're also going to describe about the manageability in cloud, which means how we're going to manage resources in the cloud. Going to my next slide here, the cloud benefit talks about, this is what we just discussed, the high availability, elasticity, the scalability, the reliability, and security, governance, and manageability. All of these will be discussed in next slide. So furthermore, we're going to talk about the cloud service type. What are the type of cloud service we have in the cloud? So my next slide here, we're going to talk about cloud service objective. And domain, which means we're going to discuss about what is called the IaaS, which is infrastructure as a service. We are going to talk about platform as a service, which is PaaS, and then we're going to talk about SaaS, which is software as a service. So all of this works hand in hand with private, public, and hybrid cloud, just so you know. So we are going to describe what a shared responsibility model is and how a shared responsibility is being used. I will show you you guys how it is in a map or in a chart where you can see the comparison of shared responsibility. And then we are going to identify use case for each of these cloud services for IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS solution. So all of this here, going to my next slide here, we're infrastructure as a service. When you say infrastructure as a service, which means is when a cloud provider like AWS, Azure, or GCP gives you basic building blocks of your IT, which means the infrastructure as a service is give you basic building block of your IT, which means your servers, they are going to have it for you, your storage, your networking over the internet. All you need to do is just to go to subscribe to that service and then use it. Like think of renting a computer or a data center from the cloud instead of buying physical computer. So this works perfectly well for a public cloud. So the infrastructure as a service represents the public cloud, which means what all of this, the physical servers, you don't have to worry about it. When you buy a server, you have to buy a cooling fan, and those servers and cooling fan will run on power. I mean, the more physical appliances you have, the more money you spend on power. So this infrastructure as a service talks about it represents the public cloud. A simple analogy, like an easy analogy. Imagine, for example, you need a house to live, for example, which is IaaS. Infrastructure as a service. Instead of buying the land, the bricks, the wood, the nail, and then building it yourself, you have to pay all of those things. Don't worry about that. All you need to do is you rent an empty house. Once you rent an empty house, you can set it up however you want it to look like. You can decide the color of paint you want on the walls. You can put in either wallpapers or a different color painting. You can arrange the furniture yourself. Don't worry, the building is already there for you, but the foundation and the building are already there. So you're going to rent the building. So the IaaS infrastructure as a service entails about renting the space, which is a public cloud. And the key features is it's pay as you go. So no need to buy expensive servers upfront. If you want to use add up more servers, you can scale up. That's what it means, add more resources. It's scalable, which means you add more servers or storage when you need them. When you need them, you can see that also it's flexible. You can control the operating system. You can choose the kind of operating system, the applications, and the settings. You can set how the computers behave, which means you can rent a house, choose how you want the house to look like. It all depends on you. Manage hardware, which means the hardwares are being managed by the cloud service provider like Azure. You don't have to be the one responsible to manage the buildings. Unlike you rent a house, for example, a building, the land use charge in Lagos, for example, is being paid by the owner of the house, right? It has nothing to do with you. Don't worry about managing the house. The landlord will manage the house. All you need to do is pay your rent, use it how you want it to be, enjoy every feature in the house. You choose how you want it to be. So in real life example, instead of buying a company of 10 servers, maintaining them in a data center, all you need to do is just go to Azure, click a button, and then get 10 virtual machine in minutes. Take notes, in minutes. You can build a house in minutes, which means you can build a house in a public rent a house within a space of minutes, and within minutes, and then you can set it up also in minutes. But building your own private cloud, which means you will have to take months after months. You have to get different building materials. Somebody who is responsible for logistics, all of that will be wiped out when you're using the IaaS. So that about basic understanding about infrastructure as a service. It build a pay-as-you-go IT infrastructure by renting servers, virtual machines, storage, network, and operating systems from the cloud provider, which is the public cloud. So the IaaS, which is infrastructure as a service, represents the public cloud services. I hope you guys understand that. If you have any questions, please feel free to draft your questions. Afterwards, we'll discuss that. Now, so any key point on this?
Yeah, okay. So I have a funny way of explaining this. So IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS. So IaaS, right? Infrastructure as a service. Infrastructure, hardware, servers. So I come like this. I need a server. I wish I can show you guys my server. Let me bring it out. I have some small servers. Okay, it's in here. I will show you guys maybe next meeting. So server, I'm just rent this server. So I'm not worried about cabling, right? Platform. I just need I'm a developer. I'm not a server guy. I just need a place to host my application, right? Then software as a service is basically, I just want to use the application. That's the summary. But let me bring it down. I will use pitching to explain to how we use it, how to explain it, Bogo. I see it as we are all Nigerian. I hope we are all Nigerians there. We are all of the chop egusi soup, right? So if a sort of a service is when you want egusi soup is hungry you. So what do? You first of all you go and buy egusi. You go not just go, you go and buy egusi. And the egusi you buy is not the one they peel though. You use your hand to peel it, right? You peel the egusi, you wait for the egusi to dry. You grind it, you start cooking it, start cooking the egusi soup. You go bring gas. Now you go bring water. Now you go bring everything. Covering the pot now you. Preserving it now you. You go still use your hand do garri. After you chop finish, you wash plates, you wash pot. It's your responsibility. That's infrastructure as a service. That means you are doing much more. Platform as a service, we say, I did my house, I want to chop egusi soup. I open my phone. Over here, they call it Uber Eats in Nigeria. I think what's the Glover? I think it's Glover. Please forget, you just basically order food for a restaurant. So you order the food for a restaurant, they will bring the food for you. So that's platform as a service. You just want chop, right? But when they bring the food, probably they'll bring it in a packet. You have his own plate. So you don't, as you know, be Jew man, now you go chop food for plastic plates. You go pour them inside your own plates. You pour inside your own plates. You pour the swallow. You still have to eat it. At the end of the day, you have to wash your hands, wash the plates, and eat and get rid of it. That's software. That's platform as a service. That means you still do some things. There are some things you do, right? But the other last one, which is a software as a service, that one is the highest of them all. That's when you want to eat, but you don't even know how be red oil. You don't even know how red oil works. You don't even know the quantity. You just want to eat. You don't want to wash plates. What do? You walk into a restaurant, just chill like this. Hey, I want to eat, right? I want to eat egusi soup. You order your egusi soup with your card. You flash your card. They bring the egusi soup for you with the swallow. Whether you go for amala or you go with fufu or you go with pounded yam, right? You just sit down very well. After you eat, you don't care whether that spoon is going to be washed, whether that plate is going to be washed, who's going to clean the table. If the soup make it. You can use your clothes, clean it, clean your hand very well. It no concern you. The restaurant manages everything end to end. They bring the food, you pay, you eat, you go. They don't care. You don't care how they manage it. Of course, the next thing that my friend is going to talk to Dominic is about shared responsibility model. Despite the fact they bring the food for you, now you are responsible to make sure say, this food, I'm not going to put it inside I'm going to put it inside my mouth. I'm not going to put it inside my nose. Right? I'm not going to put paper inside my eye. I'm going to make sure that this food passes through the right place. So there's still a responsibility for you in SaaS. So the difference between IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS is about the level of control that you have, right? In IaaS, you can in IaaS, when you go to IaaS, that means in IaaS, you might have some work to do. Some more work you might have to do is that you have to just get the egusi, so you need to do some work like put it inside your mouth and everything. In PaaS, in the other hand,
They cannot see me. I'm still trying. Okay. My mic is on. I need to mute my mic.
Can you hear us? I think somebody interrupted. Adiola, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
I can.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. Just to continue, right? In IaaS, so the level of control, what you control? You have more things to control. Say, let's say you're a control freak, you want your Egusi to be a particular species, right? I'm talking about Egusi because we're very experienced with that where I grew up. So they say some Egusi, the big ones, and they don't rise, the small ones rise. So you want a special class, they say the big one tastes a certain way, the small one tastes a certain way. You want it at that level, right? You want it at that level. You want that level granular control. That's IaaS. So you will go for IaaS. On the other hand, pass, you just want to eat, or you don't have the strength to go to your office to restaurant to eat. You want to eat from your comfort of your house while crossing your legs, probably wearing your hoodie, watching TV. Sort you are watching Netflix or watching Prime. That's how you want to eat it. You want to eat it in your own bowl. You want to turn your ewedu amara in your own bowl. You're ordering it, so you want to eat it in your own plate, right? Our fathers used to have their own plate then. So maybe you want to eat it in your own favorite plate, in your own favorite spot. You order it. That's platform as a service. That means you want to have, okay, I want to eat. I don't want to cook the egusi, but I want to have control over the plate I eat it, the water, the water I used to drink my water. That's it. Then software as a service is that nothing concern me, right? I just want chop. I just want chop. I don't want to wash the plate. I don't want to worry about what's going to have the plate after. I just walk into a restaurant. I order my egusi. I order my egufe with goat's meat, three meats on top. I sit down. That's software as a service. I mean, in this case, you're consuming the end product, right? You're consuming the end product. That's it. Thank you very much.
Okay, yes. So good for that. Thank you so much. So in clear context, going to my next slide here, I will just discuss a bit of it because my colleague here has also give a very simple explanation about what PaaS is. The PaaS you're talking about is the platform as a service. So the platform as a service is when PaaS is when a cloud provider gives you a ready-made environment. All you need to do is just go to build and run your application. Let's say you want to host a website. It's a web app application is there. You can just go there and host it, put it there, and that's all. You already made mention of it. You want to make a Egusi is there. All you need to do is just go to the page. Just go to all you need to do is just bring your plate, and the Egusi is already there for you. So the environment is already there. So the PaaS is think of you focus on your applications and the code and the features. The cloud provider handles the background stuff like the server updates, operating systems, and database. A simple analogy is imagine ordering a pizza. When you're ordering a pizza, with PaaS, the restaurant gives you a ready-made pizza base plus oven plus all you need to do is just add your toppings. You want to add more pepper, you want to add chicken or beef, whatever things you want to add, you can add all of that, and then all you need to do is just add it, and then the pizza is ready. That is what the PaaS is. So it provides an environment for building, testing, deployed software applications without using or managing underlying infrastructure. That's a key content, without using and managing underlying key infrastructure. So Nonso just drill down to it. That's that about PaaS. And going to my next slide here, we'll talk about SaaS. This is beautiful, and this is beautiful to understand. I mean, the SaaS it gives you the opportunity to understand how SaaS, which is the software as a service. There are many other functions. There are many other methods to use this kind of analogy. They also have FaaS, which is function as a service. That we can talk about that later on when you start going advanced, getting all the technical hands-on, knowing what all of that is useful. So for now, we're going to talk about the SaaS, which is the software as a service. Software as a service is when the cloud provides you the cloud provider gives you like a complete software over application to use over the internet. Example is Microsoft 365. Is a SaaS software. software as a service, which means it runs in the cloud. You just have to go and use it. Another example is like your Netflix. Netflix is a SaaS company, right? They run their cloud applications, their cloud service elsewhere in the cloud, and all you need to do is just go and subscribe to Netflix, sign in your username and password, and start watching movie using Netflix as much as you like. So it's a SaaS. So think of another simple analogy here about SaaS is think of buying a coffee. SaaS, you walk into the Starbucks, for example, and then order coffee, and then you drink it. Everything is done for you. You just go to Starbucks. All you need to do is just order, place your order, and they'll bring the coffee to you. Tell them how you want your order to look like: more sugar, less sugar, you want it darker, or you want it creamier. You discuss how you want your coffee to look like. That's a key analogy, a simple analogy of what a SaaS is. I just made an example is Microsoft 365, Dynamic 365. Those are software as a service concept. I also give you a key example is Netflix is a SaaS. So user connect to and use cloud-based application over the internet. So most of these services does not work without the help of what? Internet. Example, Microsoft 365, emails, your calendars, those are SaaS. So that's that about the basic analogy. I hope you guys understand all of this. My colleague also drilled down to make you understand the basic concept. Going to my next slide here. This is beautiful.
Hello,
I'll
please,
let you discuss. Yes, please.
I mean, yeah, the like example of pass. What's an example of pass? And because you talked about SaaS, like you talked
Okay.
about Netflix, yeah, and
Let me take that.
Yeah,
Let me
okay.
take that.
Okay.
Okay. Femi, do you want to ask a question too? So think we are heading towards to. All right. Okay.
So my question is, their prices, because you talked about the level of what's it called?
Yeah,
Control.
abstraction.
Yeah. So does it reflect in the pricing models for this services?
Okay, that's good. Okay, pricing model. Okay. All right. So let me start with the first one. The first one say example of pass, right? That's what is the example of pass, right? So how would I look for example of pass? Do we have any website developer here? Any website developer here? Okay, so let me give example of pass. Example of pass is like this. No, I have an example of pass. Very simple. So are we heard of shared workspace where people actually go to work? So for example, now you don't want to worry about, you have to do your work, right? But you want to worry about internet. So in the morning, you basically drive to that place. You're a remote worker, you drive to that place, you sit down and work. That's an example of pass. So pass is like you have some control. In Azure, for example, they talk about services now. If I talk about services, example of a SaaS is you mentioned Netflix. Another example is Office 365. Another is Dynamic 365. An example of pass is app services. So Azure App Services, which what we enter, we'll talk about them next time, is basically say, hey, I'm a pass, so what do I offer? I offer developers that build applications, build websites, a place to host their websites, a place to host their applications. So if you're a developer, most developers don't want to worry about networking. They don't want to worry about servers. They are not like me that I'll be carrying network cables, running network cables up and down, thinking about how to do this. That's not what they want to do. What they want to do, they want to think about authentication. They want to code the applications. That's what they want to about. And most of them don't know how to, right? The world has changed. When we go further deep into 400, maybe not in this series, the next series we're going to run, you'll see how DevOps is all about, right? Merging everything together. So the whole idea of SaaS and PaaS and IaaS is about the level of control. IaaS, you have a physical hardware. So Microsoft is giving you the hardware. So now you go decide, okay, do you want to run Windows operating system Windows, or you want to run Linux? Similar, do you want to have Android, or do you want to have iOS? So PaaS is saying, okay, I don't care what Microsoft is doing but what I want is that, hey, I've written my application for my application that we host, let me say application that we turn that will give people where to book restaurants, give people how to find schools. I need a place to host it, right? I'm going for PaaS. the next option, you say, oh, okay, I don't want to even think about, I'm not a developer. I just want to look for school. I'm not doing any customization. I just want to look for school. So you subscribe. So for example, now, if I use the word of AI now, if you go and download an AI model, all these free ones that I'm running on Olama, that is IaaS. If you go and decide, if you are using ChatGPT now, sorry, if you are using ChatGPT to modify, to customize, so those people that use it to customize, the people that build their applications on top of ChatGPT, that is past. SaaS, on the other hand, is that like me and you, 90% of us that just go to ChatGPT. Hey, ChatGPT, how do I? What's the currency of Nigeria? What is this and this? That's SaaS. So when you are using it, it's SaaS. When you're just using it, when you have to do some little modification, what differentiates IaaS and PaaS is the level of configuration, level of modification that you want to do on top of it. That's just the difference. Okay. Then someone mentioned about cost. Of course, better soup now, money killer. We have this take, you say better soup than money killer. So if you're going for more abstraction, the more abstraction you have, the more payments you are doing, right? Sometimes also, and one thing with the cloud is, as you are behavior it is. For example, now, same way I'll use the phone now. You want to buy a phone now. Oh, iPhone 17 just came out, I think 2 or 3 days ago. You want the Pro Max. The Pro Max is, let me say, they say they're starting with $1,000, right? Assuming $1,000. If you want it with 256 gig RAM, is more expensive than if you want with 512. So the same thing, even despite the fact that you are renting it, is actually the price is more expensive. Sometimes, to be honest, going for PaaS might be cheaper than going for IaaS, because when you go for IaaS, you are the one using it. For example, now, when we're going to show you the next session is basically you see how to select, you want to select compute, you want to select, okay, you want a 2 gig RAM, a 4 gig RAM. So Microsoft will give you that 4 gig RAM. But if you go for PaaS service and decide, okay, I want to share that, with somebody. I want to share, if you're hosting in a shared pool, that means PaaS, for example, might be hosting his website in the same place that Win is hosting a website, but both of them don't know that they're hosting the same website. To be cheaper. So the cost doesn't cost. The cost is always that, okay, if you go for SaaS, it's cheaper than if you go for IaaS. Sometimes that much configuration you want to do is actually more expensive. So for example, now for IaaS, there's something you can do. You can reduce it. You can shut it down. So for example, if I rent a server now and my work starts 8 a.m. and close 5 p.m. in Azure, I can shut it down. If I shut it down now, that means Microsoft will not charge me for the hours I'm not working. So Microsoft will now say, but if it's a PaaS service now, you don't have the ability to shut it down. So Microsoft will always push you towards PaaS more and towards SaaS more, because they know that their money is guaranteed. So it's always it's always a balancing act. That's why people like us have work. I basically work as a platform engineering with a bank over here. The whole idea is that I'm looking at these services. I'm looking at the services and helping the bank to choose the right one for them. Right. That's it. Okay, sure. Any more questions?
Okay, thank you so much for that. So another I like that. I like the fact that you had to drill down to be able to explain this to our listeners here. So a simple one key function you need to understand about PaaS is a software that is like it gives you like environment to run a software like .NET, Python, like Java, Node.js. I mean, this runtime environment to be able to use it in PaaS. Okay, so that's that. Thank you so much again once more. So here in my slide here, we are going to talk about shared responsibility model. If you look at this chart here, if you look below, you'll see that there's a key. In terms of you understanding a simple chart like this or image like this, always look at the key below. You find out that the turquoise blue is the one with Microsoft. The one with the dark blue, like the navy blue kind of, is the one that is being labeled as customer. And the one with both turquoise blue and navy blue is called shared. So if you look at this chart now, you use this key below to represent each of these charts. If you look at this chart here, you will see that here we have what they called responsibility is being transferred to the cloud provider. Responsibility varies by type, and here responsibility is always retained by the customer. So how does this work? Use this the key to represent this chart. So if you look at the on-premise now, the on-premise is talking about the private cloud. It's talking about completely private cloud. What it means is that you are responsible for your physical data center, the building, you're responsible for the networking, you're responsible for the physical host, you're responsible for the operating system, you're responsible for the network controls, you are responsible for application, you're responsible for identity and directory of the infrastructure, you are responsible for account and identities, you are also responsible for mobiles and PC, and you're responsible for the information and data. That is what this on-premise means. It's talking about your private cloud. On-premise means that you hosting your own data center, having your own private cloud. If you look at this here, that is what it means. It means that you are responsible for entirely everything here on the resources. But if you come to the IaaS that we're talking about now, the IaaS is, which means that you are going to rent a public space, right? You are going to subscribe to a public cloud like Azure, Microsoft Azure. When you subscribe to Microsoft Azure, the physical data center will be managed by Azure. The physical network will also be managed by Azure. The physical host will be managed by Azure. And the operating system, it depends on you. You can either choose how you want, the kind of operating system you want. You can either use Linux, you can either use Windows, you can use Mac. You find all of that in the cloud. So it gives you room to rent all of this to be able to use anything you want. You can choose, you can use, subscribe to applications. You can bring in your own application. You can bring in your own configure your own identities and directory infrastructure. So all of this is your responsibilities. The only thing that on the IaaS side of it, the only thing that is responsible here is the physical host, the physical network, the physical data center, and then the physical host, data center, and the network itself. But if you come to the PaaS that we're talking about here, when you look at this map, the PaaS basically will give you options for the Microsoft, that is Microsoft Azure Cloud, which is the public cloud, will give you, is responsible for the physical data center, is responsible for the physical network, is responsible for the host, is responsible for the operating system. So what they are going to use here is they are going to be sharing both the network control. Part of it will be your responsibility and part of it will be that of Microsoft. If you look at the application, part of it will be Microsoft and part of it will also be your responsibility. And when you look about the identity and directory, Microsoft and you will be the one to share it. And the rest of it, the account, you are going to bring the names that will use it. Right? You are going to bring the device, your physical device that you use to connect. Your information that you want to put inside is your responsibility. So on that note, the PaaS has some shared responsibility, and also it has more responsibility being managed by the public cloud, unlike the virtual private cloud, which means you are responsible for entirely everything in your data center. So when you talk about SaaS, like I made mention, I give you example, Microsoft 365, Dynamics 365, Netflix, those are SaaS application, right? I just give you example. So if you look at the SaaS application here, when you want to, like for your example, you want to set up a company now, you want to set up a company, you want to call it, we have Roku TV, all these different type of streaming platform. Let's say you want to call it Henry TV, or you want to call it Dominic's TV now. It's a SaaS company. You want that Dominic TV would be hosting channels for cartoons, channels for documentary, channels for news, channels for different things, right? It's a SaaS application you're hosting. So for you to do that, you will go to Microsoft Azure, subscribe to Microsoft Azure, which is the public cloud. You will be Microsoft Azure would help you with the data center. They will help you with the networking. Don't bother about going to buy physical machine and all. No, don't worry about that. Microsoft would Azure Cloud will do all of that for you. The hosting of the network, Microsoft will do it for you. The operating system, Microsoft will give you all of that. The network controls, Microsoft will help you with that as well. And the application, Microsoft will give you all of that, right? And then what you need to bring in is your identity and the directory, how you want it to run. It will be part of you will be Microsoft, and part of you will be your own responsibility. And the accounts, people who will be subscribing to it, all will come from you, because your customer will be the one to subscribe to it. All of them will come from you. It belongs to you, and Microsoft don't have any business with that. So your devices, which is the laptop that are used to connect, are they using their Android TV? Are they using their computer? Are they using their phones? All of it will be that your subscriber will be it will be your responsibility to decide whether people can use a phone and laptop to connect to on TV to connect to Dominic's TV, or it is just situated for TV alone or just laptop alone. Any one of that depends on you. It is your responsibility. And the information and data, because sometimes when you go to subscribe to all of this Netflix, right, they have your information. You have to sign in your email, your first name, your last name, username and password. You have to put in security key features. All of this will be your own responsibility. All of that information, bring it and put it into that Microsoft Cloud, and they would be the one to help you with the network control, to help you control network so that somebody cannot just hack into it and all of that. They will help you with the operating system to make it more robust. So in a simple analogy, if you look at this chart here, there's a key to understand every chart, and this is what shared responsibility model talks about. I don't know if you have any questions or not, so you might like to drill down on this. I think if you have any question or you want to discuss more about this, you can also see. If not, I will move to the next slide here. The next slide here talks about cloud service comparison. We just talked about how each one of these work, the IaaS, the PaaS, and the SaaS solutions. The IaaS, like we all know, is opportunity for you to use to go and rent a house and put your building, which is the public cloud. Is meant for public cloud services. Is very good. Is beneficial. It save cost, save time, and save energy. You don't have to go and pay laborers, staff to be doing all of those things. I mean, it will cost you more money. Just go to the houses there. Just go and bring your furniture and put all of that. So it is the most flexible cloud service. Right, you configure and manage the hardware you configure and manage the hardware for your application. So that is what the IaaS, which is infrastructure as a service, means. And the PaaS, like we all made mention, I just give you a key example. A Node.js is a service that you can host as a PaaS in Azure Cloud. You focus on the application. Node.js application, you can host it in Microsoft Azure. So Node.js application development, platform management handled by the cloud provider. So all of this talks about the basic comparison that you need to know. And lastly here, we'll talk about the SaaS, which is what I just discussed previously. I also explained, drill down about the shared responsibility model. It's a pay-as-you-go pricing model. Like if you want to host your own TV, you want to call it Dominic TV, Nonso TV, you want to call it TAR TV, whatever TV you want to create it as, you can host it to any of this public cloud, and that would help you with all of that. So users pay for the software they use or the subscription model. I may give you examples. Netflix is part of it. Roku TV is part of it. Microsoft 365 is part of it. Dynamics 365 is part of it. I mean, all of these are, so this is the simple cloud service comparison that we just talked about IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS solution. So going to my next slide here is we do have a knowledge check. I would share link regarding all of this. So this will help you to understand basic technology about Microsoft Azure. If you have any questions, we'll open a session for the question and answer session. Don't worry, you will get to the technical hands-on. This is a beauty environment for you. So what we need you to understand is to get a basic understanding, get a clear concept about the cloud model, how it's worked, how it's being used, and then you get drilled down to the technical side. It's a good journey. I bet you will enjoy all of this. And I will call this a wrap from my end. I say thank you once more, and please stay tuned. It's a pleasure.
Thank you, Dominic. It was quite interesting section. It's really fun and interactive. We'll proceed further with the second model, so Azure Architecture and Services, and that will be delivered by Nonso Udechukwu. So he will talk us through about Azure architecture components like compute and networking, storage, identity, access, and security. Yeah. Nonso, the floor is yours.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Okay, so starting. So we're going to talk about Azure Architecture and Services. So now we're going deep, right? We're going to be deep. If you have safer questions, since you don't understand the other one, please go ahead and drop the questions. And at the end of this, what we're also going to do, we're going to share the links, the learning material links, so you can throughout the week can go through these materials. If you have questions, you can reach us personally on LinkedIn. We're going to share the LinkedIn profile, so we can use it to just basically interact and help you out. All right. Okay. So now we're going to talk about Azure Architecture and Services, right? So what are we going to achieve here? We're going to achieve the following. We're going to look at different architecture components. We're going to look at computer networking. We're going to look at storage and service. We're going to look at identity, access, and security. Right. This comprises a lot of things. I'm going to go into it bit by bit. So what are we going to look at? Right. Region pairs. What's Azure region? What is region pairs? What is sovereign region? What is availability zone? What is Azure data centers? What are Azure resources? What are resource groups? What are subscriptions? What are management groups? We're going to describe the hierarchy between your resource group, subscription, and management groups. What are all those things? I'm also going to show you an example. So because this is getting too long, how I'm going to do it is I'm basically hey, I'm going to rush through this, right? Rush through it between the next 20, 30 minutes. But we're going to have another session whereby we'll do some kind of a review, and you can request for Azure subscription, test subscription yourself, and you can try out some of these things that we mentioned, right? So what are regions? Regions in Azure are basically one or more data centers. So what do I mean? So Microsoft is tell us that, hey, the data center in Azure has at least a football field, say that like at least 2 times a football field, right? So, and I think that for a region, for example, now in Nigeria, we're expected to host in West Europe region. That's one closest to us, right? A region in Azure basically saying it consists of 2 or more data centers. So if I bring to Nigeria now, let's say that Microsoft wants to build a data center, a region in Nigeria now. Microsoft can come and say, okay, hey, I want to build a data center, one in the north, one in Lagos, one in Eastern region. Basically, say all of them will come from different data centers. All of them will form one particular region, right? Why do they do this? Is because of flexibility and scale. Because they want a situation whereby, God forbid, if anything happens in northern Nigeria, they don't want their services in that region to fail. So you want to be able to communicate to other services, right? So data centers consume lots of power. So Microsoft is actually doing this to improve scalability. So far, we've never had a region, an instance whereby they say a complete region failed in Azure or in even AWS or even GCP. This is because these companies consider this scalability, they consider this ahead of time when they're making their decisions. So they try to make it big, they try to make it flexible. That's what they're trying to do. So whenever you head of regions in Azure, know that the region consists of 2 or more data center. What is a data center? What does a data center look like? I'm going to share a picture now. This is what a data center looks like. Sorry, the center images. This is what a data center looks like. So imagine this is what a data center looks like. This, for example, is even in the Netherlands, and they're saying basically say, hey, this is what a data center looks like. So this is just a single data center, and they're saying they have multiple of these all around. This is what data center look like, right? So why the regions are about? Why do you say okay, so why they have in East region, West region? Is all about flexibility. It's also about redundancy. They don't want a situation whereby if things fail, people will not be able to work. Service will start failing because Microsoft have as you are signing an agreement to host your services, there's some things you're saying with Microsoft. Hey, Microsoft, I need this service to run 247, right? We say 247 because saying, okay, in our own part, we will make the service available 247. In your own part, you also need to, as you pay, as your own part, you need to make sure that the config for the application to run 247 is also there. So that is what it's all about. Whenever you hear regions, there's a combination of one or more multiple data center. Another thing to note is what we call availability zone. So, availability zone. What's availability zones? Availability zones are all about different regions, right? Different regions. So I'm going to say, hey, for this region, if I build a data center in Nigeria now, I can connect freely with Cameroon. Cameroon region should be my secondary. So think of it like this. Now they're saying, okay, I have a region in Nigeria that has multiple data centers in Enugu, in Lagos, in Kaduna, right? Okay. I also have a region that I called Cameroon region now. I want a situation whereby if anything should happen that the whole of Nigeria is offline, I want to be able to fail over to Cameroon. So that's what they call availability zone. That's the region that is closest to each other, right? So whenever you have availability zone, think about availability zone, think about it, it's two regions that are closely to each other. So they provide protection against downtime. So all this is about how let's play it is about scalability, it's about availability on top of availability. Microsoft is adding more redundancy on top of that. That's what availability zone is all about. Region pairs. They're basically saying, okay, so some regions are closer to each other. So because they're closer to each other, it makes sense for them to pair together. So for example, now, Microsoft is saying, okay, North Central US and South Central US are closer to each other. So if anything should happen to North, it makes more sense for it to pair to South. So there's some services that you'll be deploying in Azure, and you ask, okay, to choose a region pair. If you decide, okay, I want to deploy in North Central US, it will take, okay, for the redundancy of this service, we're going to replicate your services to South Central US. The idea of this is just make sure that, okay, these two regions are closer to each other, so it makes sense for us to pair. They are being treated as one, they are being treated as a pair. East US is paired with West US. North Europe is paired with West Europe. That's basically how they are paired together. Sovereign regions. What is this? So we all love the cloud, right? We all love the cloud. The cloud is very beautiful. But do you think that is the same cloud that we are using that the people in the US government are using, right? Is it the same people that government of France is using, government of China is using? They probably don't. CIA, for example, is probably using the cloud, but they're not using the same one. So how are they doing it? How they're doing it is to make sure that they build the different data centers for them, a different data center for those people, right? A different data center for them. So a different data center for those people. So US, for example, there's a version of Azure that is being built for the US government. It's called US Sovereign Regions. Those ones are the ones that host government services. For example, things like gov.us, things about their about registering for driving license. All those things are being hosted in their own internal servers. Those Azure regions are now available to you and I. You cannot go and decide, okay, hey, no, so you get sense. Let me go and host my services there. No, you can't, right? That is the difference between Azure sovereign regions and Azure and normal Azure, right? Those ones are being built for government for a particular service to serve a particular purpose. Same with Azure China, just sovereign regions. We just see US that no one is China. So, for example, now we all know that US and China are basically in loggerheads, are basically striving for who will be war power number one and all that. Behind all those politics, Microsoft is a US company. China cannot trust Microsoft to host their services in Azure, right? So what are they going to do? Microsoft is going to build a different company, a different data center, and say, Microsoft, China, hey, we're offering you this is going to call something. It's not going to be operated. It's not going to even be operated by Microsoft. It's going to be operated by a different company called 21 VNet. Those people are the ones managing. Those are Chinese nationals managing it. The whole idea is this to ensure there's separation. The whole idea is to make sure that they are achieving that separation that they want to achieve, to make sure that these companies they are offering you a service for you alone. Just think of it like this now. If I'm a data center company, if I'm Microsoft and I want to build a data center, I want to sell to the Nigerian government, it's not the same service I'm selling to so startup. No, it's going to have some different requirements. So those different requirements is going to be in a different data center, because probably the Nigerian government doesn't want the data to be federated to another place. That's just what it's all about. It's all about Azure several regions. It's about different countries having their own Azure data centers, controlling the replication of those services, controlling the replication of those data. That's what it's all about. Azure resources. This is always very tricky. I know we're moving from 0 to 100 here. But the whole idea of resources the whole idea of Azure is basically you, and the end, what you create is resources. You create services. So, for example, now, Win wants to host our websites. What does she know? She needs an Azure resource. Ta wants to store files. He needs a storage account. Henry wants to build a Lambda app, a function app. He wants to build an event-driven app. He needs a function app. All these requirements are basically Azure. All these are basically Azure resources. So they are different resources in Azure. So you basically choose them based on what your requirement, based on what you need, right? Based on what you need, that's why you choose each and every one of them. So for Azure resources, there is a virtual machine, there is storage account, there's virtual network, there's app services, there's SQL database, there's functions. There are lots more. Trust me, I think there are more than 50 or 60 Azure resources, different ones. And as time goes on, we're going to go into them one after the other. What's a resource group? A resource group is like a basket. So it's like a basket. A resource group is like a basket in Azure. You cannot create a resource in Azure without having a resource group. It's like a container. So, for example, now today I want to create a web app. I want to create a VM. I will need a resource group. A resource group is basically like a container. Everything you are going to create, you create it inside a resource group, right? Remember, just to get resources can exist in only one resource group. So what does that mean? I cannot create an app, a VM named Nonso now in a resource group now, and expect that VM will have leg in another resource group. No, right? That VM, if I create another VM called Nonso in another different group, in another resource group, it's not the same VM, right? Resources can exist in only one resource group. It's one thing to note. There are resources that are misbehaving this, but just in quotation, all Azure resources are going to exist in only one resource group. Resources can exist in different regions. So, for example, now I can have a resource group created for West Europe, right? And decide, okay, resource group can be West Europe, and I'll have my services to be, I can create VM that will be North Europe. It's possible. In the enterprise level, they don't allow this. They can have what we call Azure policies to block this, but this is currently possible. Let me just put it like this. The next one is resources can be moved to different resource group. So I can create a resource group in Nonso now, and tomorrow I decide, okay, I want to move that resource group from Nonso to Sunday. I can do that. It's possible to Nonso resource group. I can do that. Applications can utilize multiple resource groups. So, for example, I can create an application called Nonso app. That application can have, because it's an application, it can have a storage account. It can have an app service. It can have a VM. I can decide, okay, hey, let me create them on different resource groups, right? Remember, one application can have multiple resources. It can have its own network. It can have its own storage account. It can have its own VM. It's possible for me to put them on different resource groups, although it's not ideal, but it's also possible. Subscriptions. What are subscriptions? Subscription is what we call a billing boundary. It's just like anything. I would just call it subscription is billing, right? How will Microsoft charge you? How would they know that you want a VM, you want this? How will Microsoft basically you need an Azure subscription? Similar way to the way we use MTN, we use Glo. How would they charge you? You need a subscription. How do you need data? How do you know that you have 20 gig? You have a subscription with Glo, you have a subscription with MTN. That is what Azure subscriptions are. So for you to be able to create resources in Azure, you need to have an Azure subscription. Subscription is what we call a billing boundary. So for example, now, if you have a subscription for, let me say you have a subscription and you say, okay, I put $1,000 into it, you are going to charge within that context, and you're going to charge outside of that context. It's what a subscription is, right? What kind of things? What other things you can do with the Azure subscription? You can do access control, right? You can do access control. Access control, for example, now, if I have a subscription now, I can decide, okay, I can decide, okay, let me give Sunday access to my subscription. And say, let me give Harry access to my subscription. That means Harry can manage my subscription. So for example, now, a company like UBA, for example, now will have an Azure subscriptions. So they can decide, okay, the guys managing the Azure, the guy deploying Azure, they will be given access. Some of them will be given access on the subscription level. On the next thing we'll go to on the resource group level based on what they are managing. Let's go like that bit by bit. Management groups. What are management groups? So for example, now I'm a big company. I'm a big company like MTN. I'm MTN. I have retail. I have IT. I have finance. I have marketing. All those people will have their own different resource groups, or different subscriptions rather. Sorry, they have their own different subscriptions. How do I manage all of them? How do I implement policy? How do I make sure they are in my standard? Does it mean how do I even know they are mine? I will implement what we call a management group. A management group sits on top of a subscription and manages different subscriptions. So listen, look at the hierarchy now. So a management group sits at the top. The management group, or next thing you can have multiple management groups under a management group, but it's possible. You can have multiple management groups under a management group. The management group is the highest level. The management group, you can have subscriptions, then you can have resource group, then you can have resources. Am I making sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, you are.
Okay. Next one, computer networking. Sorry, guys, it looks as if I'm rushing. We are going to schedule another session next week, to be honest. And Chia, I will do this hands-on. I'm going to show you guys hands-on. So, but I'm trying to push through because I know it's already getting late. Computer networking. So, what is compute? Compute is the basic principle. Is your CPU, is your RAM. That's how you have CPU. That's how you have RAM. Computer networking. How do you get access? How do you have access? How do you do A? How do you do B? It's computer networking. That's what it's all about. So, for example, I need a server. I need to create a VM. What do I need? I need a compute. I need a networking. So networking is how will they connect to each other. So there are different compute types. So there are things. So even when you go to app services, when you create an app service on the underlying layer, is compute at the end. I'm not going to rush too much. I'm going to try to explain this in very detail. Compute, when it comes to compute, there are different types. There is container instances. I'm going to talk about Kubernetes much later, not in this series. We're going to talk, there's virtual machines, which is the basic level of computing, which basically say, hey, I need a server. I need to host my application. That means basically it's virtual machines. Then there is functions. Functions basically, okay, I need a server to run at a particular period. So I want a solution whereby if something happens, let this happen. Let this application run. So for example, now I used to live in Lagos. When I'm living in Lagos, I live in Ogudu. I drive to VI. So when I reach to on my way to when I get to VI, I'm always saying, okay, should I go through Osborne or should I go through Obalende? What side each one I'm going to choose is basically traffic. You can decide to go with a function. What do the function do? A function is basically going to say, okay, I want at 6 a.m. Sorry, when I leave my house, I want to receive an email that tell me, okay, hey, Nonso, go through Obalende. Obalende is 10 minutes or 20 minutes better than going through Osborne, right? Then I will drive and go through that. So that means I can design a function app that queries Google API, right? Google API and runs at this period. So that at 6 a.m., just when I'm about to leave my house, I'll receive an email, I'll receive a text message that say, hey, Balende is better. than Osborne, or Osborne is better than Obalende. So that means I'll be charged only during the duration of that run. If it runs for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, that's what Azure functions do. So it's also a compute function. So that means Microsoft is not going to charge me for a whole day. They're not going to charge me for the period those to also work. So I've gone much deeper than this, but I'm going to move a bit faster. Then Azure Compute is an on-demand service that provides these resources such as disk, processors, memory, networking, and operating system. I've explained this. I say, hey, there are virtual machines on the computer, there are app services, there are container apps, there is AKS, there is AVDs. I'm going to explain them in detail, bit by bit. Virtual machine is the list. Is an IaaS. Is that the listing you create? The first time Azure came into place, what the only offer was virtual machine, right? Like I told you guys, I've been in Azure since 2015. How do I get into Azure? My boss then basically said, hey, so see this thing, Microsoft said I need the next one. Microsoft said this is the next thing, you have to pick it up. So I picked up Azure. Then what they offer is only IaaS, only virtual machines. So only virtual machines. That is the only thing they offer. So virtual machines is the least thing you create in Azure. The listing. So after you create, if you're testing Azure, the listing you create is virtual machines. So what they basically, they give you a memory, they give you storage, they give you networking, or they basically give you total control of your customization. It is IaaS that Dominic talked about. I mean, so you decide whether you want to go with whether you want to go with networking, whether you want to go with whether you want to go with Linux or Windows. You decide, okay, do I want to install this application on it, or do I want to install that application on it? What you install, what you set, basically depends on that. It is virtual machines. Skill set, virtual machine skill set. This is Microsoft saying, hey, okay, very, very good. Very, very good. I want you to see saying, okay, I want a service whereby when something is happening, I want you to increase it. When it's not happening, scale down. Very soon now, Nigeria will do Black Friday. During those period, I was telling someone that that's how I furnished my house. Then Jumia Black Friday, I used to tell my phone and I'm watching them, 22 of them. I'll be watching when they're doing sales, right? So what's happening in the background? Then what would Jumia do? Then before the cloud, what do they do? What would Conga do? Then they'll go and buy servers anticipating Black Friday. Then we in the bank, then we used to provision more servers. But what if at the day, sometimes we buy more servers than we use. Sometimes, sorry, Sunday, do you have a question? Okay, sometimes we provision more than we use, right? Sometimes we provision less. So Microsoft is now offering a product called VM skill set. The whole idea is that when you want to go, so I can create a virtual machine skill set, which is still a VM, right? And I say, hey, okay, if my CPU gets up to a percentage, please spin up another instance for me, or please increase the CPU, please increase the memory. That's what VM skill sets are. Still a VM, but has the ability to increase depending on what events. That's that one. Skill sets. I think I've talked about this. I'm not going to create a job machine. This is a lab. I'm going to do this in our next session. To be honest, I want to finish within the next 12 minutes. So I can share slides that we can read. I can share links and materials that we can read. So by next week, Saturday, when we have a more clear session, we'll have a more planned session. We will actually go through all this bit by bit with labs and everything. And people can ask their questions. So the next thing I'm going to talk about is AVD, Azure Visual Desktop. Sorry, someone wants to ask a question? Okay. The next I'm going to talk about is Azure Visual Desktop. What are they? Azure Visual Desktop is very, very beautiful. So, for example, now, if you've worked with several companies, any company you go now, what the first thing they give you a laptop, right? They give you a laptop and they basically say, hey, okay, this is how you work. This is what you used to work. If you're now doing remote work, sometimes now you're in Nigeria, you're working for a company in the US, you're working with a company in Europe. Most times they might not send laptop to you. They say you have a laptop, you're working, right? But we need to give you access to an environment, to our environment. So, but we don't trust your laptop to connect to our environment. So what they give you? They give you a Microsoft Virtual Desktop, which is basically a server or a desktop that you connect from your own laptop. So the whole idea of this is a beautiful thing, is that they don't have to worry about the time they buy a laptop, they provision the laptop, they update it and send it to you. It's a long process. This way, they're giving you a laptop, that you can start working. So they can employ you today, you can start working tomorrow, instead of waiting for the whole shipping process. That's what AVD is all about. And centrally, they can push the company policies through it, because AVD is just a virtual machine at the background. That's what it's all about. So see it as, okay, hey, the same way you open your laptop, then you provide with your office, you see Teams, you see things you used to work. It's what AVD is all about. They basically free you that service. So Microsoft offers that service, right? Instead of worrying about the things they are pushing, instead of worrying about different things, they're just offering you the service for you to offer you a desktop for you to use and work. So for example, the company I'm working now actually gave you a laptop, but they also gave us AVDs. So they also gave us AVDs. The idea of the AVDs is that the AVDs is helping us to be able to connect to certain secure environment. So that's what some companies do. Certified, they give you a laptop. Also, secure environment, they say, hey, you can only connect here through a particular network. They give you AVDs to that. So that is what they are. So see, AVDs are just desktop, just laptop. That's what they are, nothing more. Container services. Container services, like say, that's what some people used to say container service is actually DevOps, right? That's what it's all about. The service is basically, they are lightweight. So maybe when we talk about AKS, we'll run about container series, talk about the difference between a container and a VM. But Azure basically have managed solutions. The Azure Container Instance, the Azure Containers, the Kubernetes, Azure Kubernetes service is for you to manage containers. The whole idea of this is that Microsoft is giving you the services for you to use to manage containers. So containers are basically different from VMs. They are lighter than VMs, but managing them can be tricky, right? In my home lab now, I have a home lab that I have Kubernetes running those home lab. It's hard, it's difficult. The reason I'm doing it because I want to understand the inner workings, but it's not necessary on my day-to-day activities, in my day-to-day work. If you want to do your company doesn't have time for all those nitty-gritty. They want to host their containers, they want to do their applications, they want to go to market faster. So they can make use of Azure container services to be able to host their applications. Whether you are deep and heavy, you are using, we are going with AKS, which is Azure Kubernetes Services, or you are basically, hey, I want a PaaS solution. I don't want to worry about nodes, don't want to worry about scaling. I just want to go with container apps, which is basically jobs running on AKS, or you want to go container instance. It's not a single application, you just host it in Azure Container Instance. That's it. Very straightforward. Azure Functions. I mentioned this. I mentioned, hey, this guy is very beautiful. This guy is actually event driven. I mentioned, like, I'm traveling to work every day. I work in Ikoyi. I live in Ogudu. How I want a social whereby I receive real-time updates on each particular route. Which particular route to follow? Should I follow through Ikoyi or through Osborne Ikoyi, or should I follow through Obalende? This guy is the what it will trigger based on an event. So it can be, for example, I can decide, okay, hey, I'd like to back up my home movies. In my house, I have movies that I watch in my system. I want, at the end of every day, I want to back them up and copy them to a cold storage. Videos need to be back up at the end of every day, right? So to move to cold storage, let's say at the end of every day, I want to back up my CCTV videos and copy it to a cold storage. What do? I can use Azure Functions, and I can script it and say, okay, this function should start running by 11:50 or 12:05 to copy the old images of CCTV and move it to a new environment. It's totally possible. That's what Azure Function is all about. Comparing them, when do you use each one? Virtual machines, cloud-based server that supports either Windows or Linux environment. It's useful for lift and shift migrations to the cloud, complete operating system package, including the host operating systems. Virtual desktop provide a cloud-based personal desktop experience, Windows experience, desktop experience. So whenever you hear virtual desktop, what is a cloud-based Windows desktop? Just like someone giving you a laptop that has a Windows in it. That's just what it is. Containers, lightweight, miniature environment was safe for running microservices. Some of us might not know what microservices are, but I believe when we run our Kubernetes series, I can be able to explain that one more. So app services, fully managed platform, PaaS service for what? For hosting your applications. You're a developer now, you write Node.js, you write Java, you write Python applications. Where do you host it? In app service. That's just what you need to understand about it. Don't worry about creating it now. Don't worry about how it runs. Don't worry about the networking. Just know that, hey, what is Azure App Service is where developers host their applications. That's it. It's very simple, very straightforward. What is virtual network? VNet. What is VNet? VNet is like your switch. It's like your router. Most of us have router at home, right? When we go home, we have router. We connect our laptops to a router, right? If you connect your laptop to a router, that's what helps you to connect to internet before you're able to create services. Before you're able to create services in Azure, you're able to create services in Azure, some VMs, for example, you need to have a VNet. Your VNet is going to make VNet A to talk to VNet B. So you need that. So what do you need to do? You need to create a virtual network. That's what it's all about. By next week, we're going to go more deep into creating it, and by God's grace, we'll walk you through how you can get your own subscription and you can test all this yourself. Network access, networking, VPN gateway. This is where I'm going to stop today because I don't want to go into this more. It's going to be more hands-on because if I go into this, it's just like someone teaching you how to, how to drive a car or how we learned programming then on a dashboard. So I'm going to stop here today and basically take questions. So please, if you have any questions about what we've learned so far, please go ahead, ask so that we can conclude and for today and continue next week. In the meantime, I'm going to share a learning path for all these things we've done. I'm going to share my profile and our profile on LinkedIn. You can reach out to us. You can reach out to us on LinkedIn. You can reach out to us, send your messages, send your questions, anything you don't understand. Say, hey, okay, I don't understand this. No, so like, what does this mean? What do I mean by this? No, so this looks like magic. No problem. I will explain. I will not explain immediately because, of course, I told you guys I have a day-to-day job. We'll have a day-to-day job, but I promise you, within 2 days, I will explain. So, guys, any questions? Any concerns? Anything you would like us to improve on? Anything like anything you feel like this boy, they talk too fast to this boy. Anything you like us to improve on, please. So
Thank you, Nonso. Sorry, Dominic. I'm Harry.
hi,
Thank you so
Henry.
much for the Dominic, and thank you, colleagues, for at least for this section, you at least giving us this opportunity to learn things on clouds and Azure. I know it's good for us because the way you are fast, some of us are new into this. I
Yeah,
don't know if you can maybe keep it slow and simple. I know you are
yeah,
trying to meet up. I know it's going to be a long time. Let's just maybe plan the section clearly, and
yeah.
so it will be easy for everyone to carry along. So it won't make any sense. You carry some people and some are left
Some are
behind.
not moving. Yeah, I agree. I agree
Yeah.
with you. I agree with you.
Uh,
So what
Maybe secondly, if we can make our schedule time and everything, what we are going to do
yeah,
so that everyone will be carried along. And secondly,
okay.
asking if you can share the slide, or is it when you are done with everything, that's when you share the slide with us, so that you can send
Yeah,
our email this platform, or so that you can so that we can move along during the week. Some of us can go through it before the
run
next.
through it. Okay,
Yeah.
no
Yeah.
problem. I will going to share the slides at the end, but what I'm going to do, which I've already started sharing, if you look at the comment section, the chat section, I'm already share the learning path for this two materials. So if you go through them, you actually have a more clear understanding of everything. So it will be like it will be like a bell over it again. And what you are saying is actually correct. So what instead of we're not going to try to rush this, right? We're going to have another session next week, 6 p.m. Nigeria time. We'll just make it 2 hours instead of 3 hours, which can be overwhelming. So it's going to be like a clock. So 6 hours, it's 6 p.m. next week, so Saturday, we're going to start, right? We'll start for 6 hours. We'll do it 2 hours. We'll be doing each module one by one again. So go over it, talk about it, be deeper about it. I will not try to rush. I understand. So I understand what it means. If you haven't done this before, somebody is mentioned on this, it will sound like uh, this guy does a rush, right? And my aim is not to just do a checkbox. My aim is to for have a clear understanding. Everybody will understand. So that's why it's recorded. We'll go over. We'll make it make it an appointment 2 p.m. 6 p.m. every week, every Saturday for the next next 8 weeks. Let's see how far we can go through all these sessions. Is that okay?
Thank you, Nonso.
All right.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
I think Adiola has a question. Adiola, did I answer your question already?
No. Can I
Okay.
shoot?
Sure. Go ahead and ask your question.
All right. Thank you so much for the space. So I came in late and I'm sorry. So I don't know if before you started the class, you probably mentioned, the category of people that are supposed to be here.
Okay.
Are we supposed to have a prior knowledge as to how to go about coding? Because for me, I am a product manager,
Okay.
right? And I'm looking to, do something else aside that, but not actively code, right? So
Okay.
now I'm asking, is this something I can pick up from, from where we're starting off now and actually like learn to do this without having to learn Python, JavaScript, or do I need to like learn a little bit of that as
Okay.
well?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
totally understand. Okay, so where we are now, AZ-900, you don't need to code. You don't need to be code. So it's actually zero knowledge, it's zero to hero. So at the end of this, all product managers, even all team leads, all managers are expected to understand this. If you're managing an Azure team, you're expected to understand this. So this one is zero. So you're expected to know, okay, what is the cloud, what is IaaS, what is PaaS, everything that Dominic mentioned. This one is default, right? Is default. We're expected to know this. The next stage, when we're talking about what is the 104, which is the Azure Administrator. Azure Administrator is more about how do you do this? How do you configure this? How do you, that one, you can join, right? You can join, maybe not do the practicals, no, don't do the labs, but just to have a rough understanding, a rough knowledge of what it's all about. But there is no much coding. You're not expected to write functional, but you might expect to write a few lines of Azure CLI, which will show on the board, which are documentations that show about it. But you're not expected to be an expert in coding to do that. That's for sure. But yes, one is
Right.
complete entry level, no need of coding, no zero, just 0, 0. We are just getting 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. That's it.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. So my last question. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want to say something? Okay.
No, sure. Go ahead. Sorry. You ask your question so we can move to the next question.
Okay. So I just, if it's possible that we have like a career path of where this can lead us to,
Lead
and
to. Oh, okay.
yes.
Okay.
Okay. So we
That's
can,
good.
have a picture of, okay, in 8 weeks' time, I can, of course,
Do
there will
this.
still be a lot of learning to, add to whatever we're picking up from
Yeah.
here. But at the same time, okay, we're putting our heads down that, okay, probably we're going to start seeking for internship, or we're going to do this and that.
Positions.
So actually have, yes, exactly,
Okay.
hands-on experience.
That's very good. I think, okay, what will happen by next week? I'm going to share career path, but I can tell you this, that this will basically entry-level cloud engineer roles, support roles. You should be able to do it. When I was in Tech Expert, I was employing, I think I was the first I was the first SME in Tech Expert. I basically employed the first 2,000. I was the interviews. One of the things I'm looking at, do you have an idea about the cloud? Do you even know what a resource group is? So do you know what a VM is? So this is basically the entry level. So I'm going to share a career path, but I can't tell you in this, if you want to really go deep, right? You want to go deep, you have to be hands-on. Like I said, you don't learn the cloud with just few hours. No, it's just hands-on. Like I said, I've been doing this I've been doing cloud since 2015, and I'm still learning. I'm still reading. New things are still coming up. AI is spinning up new things every day. So Microsoft is improvements. I can give you an example when we're going to talk about Entra. I can give you an example in 2019 where I was training a group of Microsoft product people in Kenya. I did a lab in the night, came the next day, there are changes because the cloud is always changing, always updating. So anybody that is interested in this, know that, okay, hey, it's a place for continuous learning. I have to continuously improve myself. Yeah.
So a quick one, let me add up to what Nonso have said. I really enjoyed this. Thank you so much for this. So regardless of what you want to be or who you want to be in the cloud space, the cloud technology that we are teaching you right now it's Microsoft Azure. And if you want to become a data scientist or a data analyst, I'm going to drill down to tell you who a data analyst is and who a data scientist is. If you want to be a cloud engineer, I'm going to also drill down to tell you who a cloud engineer is. If you want to be a DevOps engineer, you want to be designing deploying automations of the different software applications, I will tell you their job functions and its roles. I'm going to bring a map and show you how each one of these can help you from understanding the basic concept in cloud to also get the knowledge that you want to be, or to get a career goal for yourself or a plan. So this, the cloud, learning the cloud fundamentals, and it's a key part for you to choose who you want to become, what you want to become. So there are various cloud paths that you can follow to and be what you want to be at any point in time. So don't worry, keep your fingers crossed. All of this will be discussed and shared a chat or a path where you can follow. And you want to be a data engineer. You know what a data engineer does. You want to analyze data. You want to tell people what the different models of analyzing data and all of this. You will get a path. First, you want to be a cybersecurity engineer. Take it cool. You also understand basic concept about cloud, because this is the key basics for you to get. You want to be an AI engineer. You want to start writing AI models and what AI models that can help in the hospital. It can help in the teaching educational sector. It can help in the farming sector. Whatever you want to do with to become an AI engineer, this part, it's a learning platform for you to also get the right path. So keep your fingers crossed. It will get intense as we go further. This is just the basic step. And I think at this point in time, I'll leave it up to my colleague to also continue. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you. Over to you, CJ. You can round off.
Yeah,
but to drop, you can drop your email, so you can get the links on your email, but also on the chat we'll also share the link for the next meeting. That's what we're going to do also. So thank you.
Thank you, Nonso. Let's proceed with the last module for the day.
CJ, I think we can cancel the last module because people are sounding tired. We'll shift it to next week. Yeah, let's move it to next week.
Okay, that's a good plan. Let's do that. Okay, guys, thanks for joining. Thanks, Nonso Udechukwu. Thanks, Dominic Iortyer, for this, and we'll join you guys. We'll be around next week, Saturday, same time. Of course, this section is recorded, so you can always come back to it and replay it.
Yeah.
And always send us a message or questions if needed. Enjoy your evening. Enjoy your night. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye, everyone. Bye.
Good night.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.